What's up guys, it's me Lego Paradise here, and today I'm excited to show you my classic Le Mans cars which I built for my motorized Lego racetrack. I'll also be showing you how I designed the custom stickers you see decorating each of these cars, as well as give you guys a few tips if you want to have a go at designing your own custom Lego stickers. So as you can see, this is a very colourful selection of classic Le Mans cars from a variety of different years and models. And that's because I made sure to include a combination of some of the most famous Le Mans cars, such as the Ford GT40, as well as some of my personal favourite colour schemes and designs. And as you saw at the beginning, I've designed 4 of these cars to be compatible with my motorised racetrack mechanism, which means that they can actually drive around and race against each other. So if you're interested in taking a look at the mechanism, be sure to check out the full video of my racetrack. I'll leave a link in the description below. But for now, let's take a look at the cars. And we'll go from left to right, beginning with the Jaguar XJR12. So this is one of the cars that's compatible with my motorised racetrack mechanism. And you can see what makes it compatible is this magnet, which allows it to be carried along the conveyor belt and drive around the racetrack. And this is the same basic chassis that I've used for all 4 of the motorised cars. And I think that works really well, because even though these are quite different cars in real life, this basic chassis works really well for a base that I could build off and expand on the more unique details of each of the cars. One of these unique details for the Jaguar being the rear wheel cover, which I've designed to be just like in the real life car, which features a removable panel that can cover the back wheel. And that's on both sides, and you can see the way I've designed that in my Lego version is just by building into the bodywork and extending it, leaving a small gap for air vent. And then the way I've got the wheel behind it is I've actually inset both of these wheels by one stud on either side. And of course, that isn't really noticeable when just looking at it from the side or any other angle. So I'm really happy with how that's turned out, and that's a good compromise. I'd rather have the wheels just be inwards a little bit on the back, rather than anything being stuck out of the side of the bodywork. I think that's much neater that way. But let's head back round to the front, and let's talk a little bit about the stickers and the decals. So like with all of these cars, I didn't want to go too overboard with the amount of decals and stickers, but since they are race cars, and quite a few of the famous recognisable features are defined by the stickers and adverts on the real life cars, I had to include some in my Lego versions. So for example, at the front here, you can see some of the real life brands, which I swapped out for some Lego-ified versions, which I think work just a bit better and fit a bit better with my Lego racetrack. But I've still kept some of the real life sponsors as well. I've tried to basically condense all of the decals and stickers on the real cars into the most essential and simple ones. I think that works really well. And another design feature which I tried to go for when designing them is I didn't want to go too overboard with using the decals for the detailing. In fact, the only part of the car which relies on a decal rather than coloured Lego bricks is this roof. And that's because I wanted to make this roof in the same style as the official Lego Speed Champions roofs, except they just didn't do any in that colour. So I just used a plain, transparent black glass roof piece and made my own custom sticker for that part. You can see the minifigure driver inside, and he's at the steering wheel. You can actually see some more of the interior by removing this roof piece, and you'll notice there's some dials, the steering wheel, and you might have noticed as well, this isn't actually a full minifigure, this is only the top half. That's because that's attached with a hinge plate. The reason for that is if you have it so a full minifigure can sit inside the car actually ends up being quite tall, about that height, and I didn't think that looked any good. I'd much rather have it be lower down and more realistic scale. And I think this is a good compromise between being realistic and being minifigure scale. So I'm happy with how that's turned out. The sides and the architecture of the car, the structure, is relatively simple, but at the back here you can see the rear wing, and that also has another sponsor on it, and just some interesting aerodynamic designs with the teeth pieces. So I'm quite happy with how that's turned out. Not much detail at the back, but that's not really that visible on the real car either, so I think that works pretty nicely. Now moving on to the next car, this is another Jaguar, this time a Jaguar XJR6, a slightly older version of the Jaguar sports car. This one is in slightly less famous dark green and white colour scheme, but I just wanted some contrast and some variety, and this is still a real life colour scheme, so I thought that looked nice, but as you can see it's a lot more simpler, and the decals don't have as much detail or as many different adverts and sponsors on them. But that's okay. If we take a look at the middle, you can see this driver is also concentrating quite a lot on the road ahead, and he's in a slightly different outfit, although the same dials and steering wheel design. And that works really nicely. You can see I've also made a custom roof element at the top here, just by using a dark green sticker. And that's another thing, I'm really happy with how these stickers have turned out. They almost exactly match the colours of the official Lego pieces, and that's not something that's that easy to do. And then apart from that, the XJR6 is pretty similar to the 12 in both the shape and the bodywork. Really one of the only major differences at the back of the car is the rear wing. This wing is a bit larger and has two different tiers, green and white, which make it stand out a bit more compared to the relatively thinner wing of the Jaguar XJR12. Next we get to one of my more interesting and more unique designed classic Le Mans cars, the famous Ford GT40. So this is one of the oldest of my classic Le Mans cars. This is also quite a different shape to each of the other cars. In fact, the shape of the car, particularly at the front, how it's angled downwards, is actually the reason why I couldn't get it to be compatible with the magnets featured on the undersides of all the other cars, which allow them to be pulled round and drive around my racetrack. But that's okay because I'm happy with just a static car to display on the track. And I think I've recreated the shape of the car very accurately. I'm really happy with how that's turned out. It looks especially good from the sides and from the top angles. But if we head back around to the front, you can see I've actually built the headlights out of some upside down transparent 1x1 tiles. And then here you can see I've combined both a Lego element and a sticker, so it's a bit of a 3D effect there, and it's also very nice and lots of contrast. Of course, the blue colour is meant to represent the famous golf coloured scheme of the Ford GT40, although this blue colour is a bit more saturated than the real life one, but that's really the closest colour I had, and the colour in which I had the most pieces. So even though it's not completely accurate to the golf colour scheme of the real GT40, I think this is still a very good and eye-catching colour. If we continue on, you'll notice how this is quite a bit different to the official Lego version of the Ford GT40, which they released in the Speed Champion set. This is much more closer to minifigure scale, and you'll notice it doesn't include any of the details such as the wheel arches or the weird shaped roof piece which they use. Instead, for the roof, to make it more accurate, I've combined 3 of these old classic Lego Adventurers windscreens and angled them using some 1x4 hinge tiles and 1x4 hinge plate in the middle there to create this windscreen which curves downwards and extends over to the sides. I think that's a very good shape and a very cool design. And then the window is braced with 2 classic light grey levers. And here's just a better look at the decals on the side. You can see how I've also condensed an assortment of official sponsors and adverts on the car. And then as we get to the back of the Ford, here you can see the back is also hinged downwards, That's also made using a bunch of hinge plates and tiles, and that includes the rear window. It's a very good shape from the back here in my opinion, and a small vent for the engine. And you can also see another number, the number 6, this time it's best viewed from above or from a slightly higher angle than the sides. That's also very cool. Of course, in my Lego version I've had to stick this sticker across 2 pieces, but that's okay because it all joins together nicely when you look at it from all the other angles. And then at the very back of the car, here you can see just 2 lights, some exhaust pipes in the middle, and a number plate to round it off. So that's a very cool design, and one of the more interesting of my cars. And another interesting feature about the GT40, specifically my Lego version, is if we look inside the car, you can see the driver in this one is actually a full Lego minifigure, since I actually had some space to fit a full minifigure. There's also a little steering wheel at the front there. And you can see the way I've achieved that is that I've actually opened a hole in the bottom of the car, and that allows the minifigure to dangle out of the bottom of the car, but it still allows it to be perfectly inside the car for the most part. I thought since I had the space in the GT40, instead of just including half a body and a head like in all the other cars, I might as well include space for the full minifigure. So that's also very cool, and is one of my more favourite Le Mans car builds. Next up, we have the Porsche 917K. And this is actually another one of the cars which LEGO has made an official version of in one of their Speed Champion sets, which meant that I could actually use a lot of the same stickers from the set and some of the same parts such as the windscreen. Except of course I've improved on their design, such as in the front, where in the LEGO set they used stickers for the headlights, and I thought that wasn't very good, so that's why I replaced them with some actual transparent clear cheese wedge pieces which look much more like headlights, and it's a whole lot better than just representing them with some stickers. Another improvement is in the centre of the front. I've just smoothed that out and made it a lot less blocky than on the actual LEGO official version of the 917, and included this short fence piece to act as an air intake. Another major improvement actually is with these 2 wheel arches, where the LEGO version uses those prefabricated wheel arches which have the exposed studs, so I fixed that by creating my own custom ones, which allows this really cool stripe design to continue on uninterrupted along the top of the sides of the car. So I'm really happy with how that's turned out. And then as we get to the middle, this is a lot similar, but still a bit different. You might notice how I've had to modify some of the stickers around the car so that they still fit with my LEGO version. And that was quite a bit tricky, even though I didn't have to create these stickers. In fact, these stickers on this 917 are the only stickers which I haven't custom made. It was still quite tricky to make sure that they all fit, and I had to do some modification to ensure that all of the stickers work together. And then in the middle of the car, this also follows the same interior design of my other cars. I can remove the roof here, and you can see another half minifigure in this one, this time in a more fitting red outfit, as well as the dashboard sticker from the official set. And this is a really cool design for the interiors in my opinion, because you can easily take off and swap the roof pieces. So then as we get towards the back of the car, on this top area, it's actually quite similar to the official LEGO version. It's almost exact. I've just swapped out a few of the curves for some better fitting ones. And at the very end of the 917 is some of the exposed chassis and structure, as well as some pairs of lights. You can see some orange and some red lights inside of the orange. And apart from that, there's not much other details on the Porsche 917. And it's definitely one of the brightest cars out of my classic Le Mans cars. Finally, we get to the last classic Le Mans car and the second Porsche, this time a Porsche 956. This is another really cool design car. This is one of my favourite ones which I've built. and I'm especially happy with the stickers. So you'll notice again I swapped out some of the real life brands and adverts on the car for some Lego-ified versions, and some pretty detailed stickers, all of which I've designed myself. I'll show you a bit more about how I designed them in just a little bit, as soon as we finish looking at this car. And you can see the stickers continue along, fitting nicely, and quite accurate colours, almost similar to the dark blue and white of the official Lego pieces. And then you can see another minifigure. I've tried to include different suits and slightly different faces for each of the drivers, but a very similar interior to the other 3 motorised cars. And then you can see how the top half continues with this very bright white design all the way to the back wing, which is also decorated with a couple of Lego-ified versions of real-life sponsors that I feel work a whole lot better. And another thing is you'll notice it's got 2 separate wheels. That's not a mistake, that's actually how the real-life car looks, although sometimes in some versions of the 956 they use a gold wheel at the back and a white wheel at the front, but this is also a real-life combination I've used for my Lego version. And either way, I really like how that turned out. So now I'm going to show you how I designed the stickers for all of these cars. I'll also try to give you some helpful tips and advice for making your own custom Lego stickers. There are many different programs you can use to create your stickers. Here are some examples of some free image editing software, but I like to use Photoshop since it has the most features and is a bit more professional. And if you don't already own Photoshop, you can always sign up for a free 30-day trial on their website. So I started out by finding some reference images of the cars from all different angles, so I had a clear view of each of the designs. Next, I compared my Lego models to the real cars and picked the most important decals to recreate. This way, by picturing whereabouts on each car the stickers would be, I wouldn't end up with too many stickers crowding one car, since not all real-life stickers translate well onto Lego models. I also looked up some guides for the dimensions of Lego bricks, so that they'd be the right size when printed out, and I'll link those in the description. With this, I was ready to create the designs. And a lot of this is really just building up more complex shapes out of more basic shapes, such as circles, ovals, and rectangles. Although it's still a good idea to use real-life logos on graphics when you can. And one exception to this is when you want to slightly modify words or logos, like I did with the Brickman's logo, where I had to use a combination of layer masks and shapes to recreate a Lego version of the original. And I think that turned out really well, very obvious what it's meant to be. So another thing to consider is which font you use for words and numbers. Photoshop has a really useful match font feature that lets you easily find a similar font, but you can also do this by just searching around on the internet, as lots of people have already found out the exact fonts that a lot of the more famous logos actually use. Once you've finished creating your graphics, it's time to align them, and don't forget to leave a few millimeters gap for when you cut them out. Another good idea is to always double check that your measurements are correct and that your document is set up for printing correctly. If you've followed all of that so far, now it's time to print out your stickers. There's plenty of options to print onto. I'll leave a link to the sticker paper that I used, or you can also print out onto normal paper and then just use double-sided tape to stick it to your Lego models. But of course, if you have some proper sticker paper, that will turn out to be much neater. You can make sure that you've spaced out your stickers correctly by printing out first in black and white, or you can use a template like I have and align the stickers so that they match within the boundaries of your template. That just makes it much easier, and that way you know for sure that nothing's going to be cut off during the printing process. When I first printed out my stickers, I came across a bit of a problem. Even though I had used the official Lego colours, and even gone to the trouble of looking up the exact CMYK colour values, when I printed out the stickers, some of the colours hardly matched at all. Like the purple, for example, which ended up looking more like blue. After some research, I found out that this is actually quite a common problem with some home printers. So if this happens to you, just search for a colour chart for the colours that you want, print that out, and then match the closest colour on that colour chart to the Lego colour which you are after. This way you can swap out all of the old colours that were printing out wrong with the correct colour, using the paint bucket tool on Photoshop or your image editing software to do that really quickly. When your stickers are finally ready, you can stick them. And now it's a good idea to ask someone for help if you're not very experienced at cutting out and aligning the stickers, but you could also position the stickers yourself by using some tweezers or your nails. That's pretty much it for creating your own custom stickers. I might make a more in-depth tutorial at some point, but for now, that should be a good look at how I designed my classic Le Mans car stickers. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to check out the full video of my Lego motorized racetrack, as well as give this video a like, leave a comment, and subscribe for more Lego creations. I'll see you guys next time, and thanks for watching.